Hey everybody. Alright. We're getting a rare look. Oh! Alright. There we go. So, thanks to some comments on YouTube, I just did some fiddling with my audio setup, and hopefully that sounds a bit better. Turn myself up a bit, have the music going in the background while we play some Pokemon Blue. So, welcome everybody, welcome to the stream, or welcome to the VOD if you're watching on YouTube later, happy to have you. Today, I'm just going to play a little bit of Pokemon Blue, so continuing the adventure through the original games and getting some B-roll for some videos that I'm going to be making in the not-too-distant future. So, I don't think it'll be a very long stream. I'm thinking probably maybe about an hour today, but I just wanted to kind of play some Pokemon Blue because, as you can see, I very happily got a copy of Pokemon Red that was finally delivered to me after what I can only describe as a debacle with the U.S. Postal Service. I've had a run of bad luck with things being delivered and trying to get things on time. So I'm not really on like a time crunch because I'm just kind of going at my own pace, but you know, when you order something, you definitely want to get it, right? So I had this from eBay. There's a seller on there that will occasionally pop up with these older cartridges, but specifically with older cartridges that have the batteries replaced so that the save functionality still works. Because if you weren't aware of an issue with the... Yep, you want to be on stream?
No,
What's
I
that?
just had a question, but it's not a time-sensitive question.
Okay. See ya. My fiance coming in. But at any rate, these old cartridges, because they weren't meant to last forever, they have a an old battery in them, and I thought that it was just for Gold, Silver, and Crystal, because Gold, Silver, and Crystal have a functionality on the cartridge where it can actually keep time. So you're asked like what time it is when the game starts, and then it keeps time, and it has like a day and night cycle. Excuse me, so that you can watch, or you can catch Pokemon at different times of day. But because those cartridges weren't created with longevity in mind, necessarily, those batteries gave out and died, and what that amounted to was that you can't save on those cartridges because the game won't recognize that the time is correct, and it basically has some kind of weird built-in function where if the time can't be recognized, then you can't save a game. So, all of that to say, I thought that it was just on Gold, Silver, and Crystal that was an issue, but it turns out might be an issue on Blue, Red, and Yellow as well. And so it's important to get cartridges that are tested and able to be used so that you can actually save them. And because even though I'm using an emulation machine, the Retro Freak, to play these, I am very deliberately playing them on cartridge. So I'm not emulating. I can show just to prove that in case anybody cares. I want to have these games, right? So here's the copy of Yellow that I got that I'm really excited about because it actually came with the handbook, the trainer's guide, which used to come with these physical copies of games, and it's just very cool, very cool piece of history that a lot of people didn't save, myself included. I wish I had. But look at this, like there's like a typing chart for Pokemon Yellow. All of this old great Ken Sugimori artwork. There's Cubone looking very sad. So anyway, I very deliberately bought these from sellers who had refurbished them to make sure that they worked. And I'm slowly amassing all of the actual physical copies of the Pokemon games. So, all of that being said, I had a real odyssey trying to get Pokemon Red so that I could trade with my Pokemon Blue version, which is the version that I'll be playing on stream. It basically didn't get lost in the mail, or at least it didn't seem that way at first. What happened was, I got a notice from the USPS app that it had been delivered at a mail. It said in or at a mailbox, and I did not have it in or at my mailbox. So, what began was a protracted conversation with the USPS, trying to figure out what happened to it. My guess is that it got mixed up with a different apartment, or it just got lost in the mail and for some reason was shown as delivered. So that was frustrating. But I will say that outside of that, I haven't really had a big problem with deliveries. So I have, to my left here, my copy of Pokemon Red. I have Pokemon Silver. I'm still waiting on Pokemon Gold to come. But I have Pokemon Crystal, and I also have Pokemon Yellow, which I just showed off. So, plenty of stuff to play on the stream, and I think the next game that I would play on stream would be Yellow, which would be a lot of fun. I'd like to do it in chronological order. So, all of that is to say that I finally got Pokemon Red, so I was able to link up with my Game Boy Color and the Analog Pocket to trade over the starters that I was missing. So I think the kind of thing that I want to do right now is kind of do like a starter-only playthrough. Because in my green playthrough, I had built up a team of Pokemon that had been really strong in Pokemon Green, and that was a lot of fun, but it's kind of overkill in a lot of ways, playing these old games, because a handful of Pokemon gets so powerful you don't really need like a full team. So I figured what I would do is I would play through with just the starters and see how far I get before I decide like I want another Pokemon. But I just thought that would be kind of fun. And my goal through this playthrough is to complete the Pokédex on Pokemon Blue. So should be pretty easy, especially now that I have capable trading. So that is the goal for this playthrough. And if you're new to the stream idea, we're basically playing every version, every blue version of Pokemon. So blue, silver, Sapphire, on and on, right? And then the red version is going to be the one that I use off stream to get trades and stuff like that to complete Pokédexes. And if you're confused by the music, I have the red and green soundtrack playing in the background right now because one of the cool benefits of the Retro Freak is this kind of speed up option that you get, which makes playing through these old games a lot, in my opinion, a lot more fun. So, cool stuff. Doesn't super jive with this fight against this Metapod, but you know what? The sprite on the right looks troubled. They all kind of have... Yeah, he looks kind of shell-shocked, no pun intended, but pun achieved, I suppose. Charmander looks good. He's having a good time. But then Bulbasaur is going through something of his own over there, I think. I love these old sprites. That's another fun thing that we'll get to see with the Retro Freak, is that we'll get to see the evolution of the Super Game Boy borders. So we saw the green one, which was fun. It was just like a bunch of random Pokemon, and then blue has the starters. I'm curious to see what the yellow will do, because my guess would just be it's Pikachu in various states of surfing and flying and having a good time, as he is wont to do. Yeah, so it's going to be a shorter stream today. Obviously, I started a bit later than I usually do. But something that I'm trying to keep in mind is that I don't think I'm sick, because I was sick when I was in Japan, and I don't typically get sick back to back like that. But I think I must have cut my throat on, I don't know, I must have been eating too fast or something and cut my throat, because it just it's a sore throat, but it's in one spot on my throat. So I'm convinced that I nicked it or something. So maybe a chip went down the wrong way. So that's not very fun, and doesn't affect my talking too much, but I don't want to push it, so. That said, I did order some ice cream, and supposedly that is the cure-all for throat problems. Fun little musical interlude there. Thank you very much. It's another thing that I wish was bigger here, in the States, I mean, because when you go to Japan, at least when you go to Akihabara, the anime and video game place, video game soundtracks are so big. You can find them for pretty much everything, and they're curated so well. I wish that we did that more. I know you can get them, but I think the difference is you don't typically see them in a Barnes & Noble music section or something like that. Whereas over there you can find them, next to quote-unquote normal albums. So that's nice. Get some cool artwork in them too. And usually a little blurb from the composer, which is always fun to read. One thing that I think is really cool about this music, so obviously I'm very nostalgic for it because it's really the first video game music that I remember listening to. But something that I think is really neat about it is that, first of all, it's like a marvel that it sounds this good. Because remember, it was created for the Game Boy, not even the Game Boy Color, for any difference that made. It was really a feat of video game music engineering, whatever you want to call it. And Junichi Masuda, the composer, has been with the series forever, and I think it's just a real genius. And it reminds me of this great story from Alfred Hitchcock and the Birds. I'm sorry, not the Birds, Psycho. So Psycho is one of the most iconic, recognizable scores in all of cinema history, right? The that. So, but not just that. There's also the opening, which is a it's Bernard Herrmann, very famous, very wonderful soundtrack. So Alfred Hitchcock had worked with Bernard Herrmann before on a number of his, I think, TV projects, and then I think maybe a couple of movies before Psycho 2. But Alfred Hitchcock wanted the shower scene, the infamous shower scene, to be without score. He wanted it totally quiet, totally silent. And Bernard Herrmann had already written the music for what he had seen in the shower scene. And so he went up to Alfred Hitchcock and he said, I know that you want this quiet, but just listen to it. And Alfred Hitchcock said, oh, no, I have a clear vision of what I want. And he said, just listen to it. Just get a screening, listen to it. So Hitchcock did, and the next day, the story goes, he called Bernard Herrmann into his office, and he tripled his salary. And he said, you were absolutely right. So music can really make or break the medium that you're in, and I don't think Pokemon would be as huge if it weren't for Junichi Masuda's amazing soundtrack work in these original games. Looping back to Japan and music, have you seen that Joe Hisaishi of Studio Ghibli Composing is touring the US this year? No, but I would love to see that. The Spirited Away soundtrack, every single track in it is special to me, but there's a video on YouTube of him performing Ano Natsuhi, One Summer's Day, and it's a really beautiful performance. It's basically him front and center at the piano, and it's absolutely beautiful. So if that's happening, I'm gonna find a way to go to it. That's awesome. Talk about a brilliant composer, Joe Hisaishi. It's funny too, because like his music will randomly like make the rounds on YouTube Shorts or TikToks, where like I feel like maybe it was like last year, maybe it was longer than that, but there's this weird period where every YouTube short that I saw used Howl's Moving Castle's soundtrack in it, and I don't know why, other than maybe people just realized that music is awesome and they wanted it and everything. But yeah, you talk about evergreen soundtracks. He's a real brilliant guy. I should switch here. Big in the travel vlog scene, make every place seem ethereal. Definitely works for that. I mean, he's so good at he I feel like is the rare composer. I say that knowing very little about music. Whatever. I think he's the rare talent who his music is he's so good at ambient music, but then he's also so brilliant when it comes to melody and like just tunes that you remember. Like I think he did Princess Mononoke, and Howl's Moving Castle, of course, to me is like very idyllic and serene, and there's a lot of really great music that just kind of sets the tone for those movies. But then you have that song from Howl's Moving Castle that everybody knows, was in like a million TikToks, or the kind of melodic theme of Spirited Away, which is the One Summer's Day, the do 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 do, that just like so simple and so beautiful at the same time. There's a song in Spirited Away that it's hard for me to listen to because I associate it with not a difficult time in my life, a really beautiful time in my life, but like a hard time to kind of think about. And it's the song the sixth Station that plays when Chihiro and No Face are going to Yubaba's sister, Zeniba. And that scene where they're on the train and just, going to the sixth stop. It's just one of my favorite scenes in any movie, and that music is so beautiful. Music Boy Joe. New York and Chicago. Okay. I would make a trip to New York for that. That would be worth it. Be a fun excuse to go to New York. That would be great. We are moving and grooving right along here, which is good. I mean, I talked about most of the fun lore stuff during my Pokemon Green playthrough, but I did want to get this, wanted to get this footage for Blue, and I also want to complete the Pokédex in it, which I think will be a lot of fun. I think my plan probably is, just kind of go through this normally. I'm not really catching anything right now, but what I think I'll do is kind of see how it plays out and then see how much of the Pokédex collecting I want to do on stream. Because what I would really like to do is get to the end, beat the Elite Four, and then have the option to go to Cerulean Cave so that I can train things up. Because once I have XP all, after getting like 50 Pokemon and going to see the Professor's Aide, then that'll make leveling up super easy, which means evolving will be super easy, which means completing the Pokédex will be very easy. So I think that's my plan. We'll see how that changes, though. In the meantime, we're just going to get through the badges and the main story here. Get the Helix fossil, praise Helix, of course. Remember that. Are there... Just realized that there might be some people in my Twitch audience that are too young to remember that, which is crazy to me. But that was what, like 8 years ago? The Twitch Plays Pokemon? How long ago was that? How old am I? Wait a minute, now I have to know. Hang on. When was Twitch Plays Pokemon? Oh man. The nostalgia. It's longer than that? Oh my god, how long ago was it? February 12th, 2014 was Twitch Plays Pokemon. We're almost at the 10th year anniversary. Oh my god, we are almost at the 10th year anniversary. Oh my god, I just that Matt Damon gif of him getting older. Jesus Christ. Oh my god, we're like 2 weeks away from Twitch Plays Pokemon turning 10. That's insane to me. Oh man, I wonder if they're doing anything for it. That'd be fun. That's... Oh, I just made myself feel very, very old. Okay. Gotta recover from that for a second. Oh, shake it off, shake it off. Jeez. That's crazy. I'm going to be just thinking about that for the next week. I'm going to be thinking about that until it's actually 10 years old. That's crazy. A lot of cool stuff came out of that. I feel like that that did a really fun job of like reinvigorating the Pokemon community at that time, because I think it was around, that would have been around X and Y coming out, thereabouts. So it's like a fun little like unofficial advertisement for Pokemon at the time. I wonder if there's a highlights video or something on YouTube to watch as opposed to like days long. Oh, there's gotta be. Yeah, there's gotta be. I remember certain things. Obviously, praise Helix. That was like the big thing because they kept going to the bag and clicking on the Helix fossil. I remember that, of course. And then there was like, I think pretty early. I think they managed to get Charmander as the starter, but then pretty early on they accidentally released it. Like I think that was pretty close. And then there was I think Pidgeot was like Jesus. There was some connection to Pidgeot and the Helix fossil, which I can't remember. Yeah, there's definitely like, I bet there would be highlights that we could maybe take a look at. That would be a lot of fun. I could do that right now, actually. I'm not really, it's not like I'm on some kind of like TV schedule here. I could do whatever I want. The beauty of Twitch. I will say this though, I'm gonna go pick up some ice cream was delivered, so I'm gonna go grab that to soothe my throat, so I'll be right back. Enjoy Charmander, or Charmeleon leveling up. All right. We're back. I got ice cream all over me. Perfect. Perfect. It is fun. Nothing wrong with watching Charmeleon level up. All right, let's see if I can get... First of all, let me see if I can find a video. Some highlights. I don't want to just watch like a video. Sorry, I should be clear. I don't want to watch like... There's a video of like Jaywitz, the PokeTuber. A lot of them are like top 10 moments where there's like commentary and stuff. I don't really want to be a React channel at this stage in my career. So maybe I'll look for just like a compilation without commentary so that we can make it ourselves. Maybe that'll be another stream this week. That would be fun. Be a fun capper to the Gen 1 excursion. So here's one of my favorite things. I always thought the Charmeleon sprite from behind looks really silly. Looks like a Dragon Tales character or something. A lot of the sprites from behind look very silly, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Alright, let's get Ivysaur in there. Any chance we'll see Pokemon Snap on stream, or would that be so far off it's impossible to plan for? No, I think, I was actually thinking today about, potentially doing, like, the Pokemon Coliseum games, and I would love to do Snap with that. Plus there's the new one, which would be fun. I never beat Pokemon Snap as a kid, so it would be fun to go back to it and try to play through one of the first, like, spin-off games, because I definitely want to go through some of those spin-offs. So that would be a really good way to start that. I should actually get a copy of that now that I'm thinking about it. And I think the step after that would be basically figuring out, okay, what's the best way to play it? Because I'm not sure. I'm sure there's like a retro machine that could play N64 games, but I have to do some research into that. Because I know mine doesn't. I don't think the Retron 5 does. But I'm positive there's something out there, so it would just be a matter of finding it. Which would be great, actually, because then I could play some other N64 games, which would be fun. Maybe do like a Zelda playthrough. Always fun to think about. Luckily, there's a ton of games that I love, so there's no shortage of going through games and having a good time. I don't think I've ever seen one, but that's rad. Plus Zelda and Snap are on the Switch emulator. Oh, that's right, the Switch emulator. Well, there we go. Okay, we found our answer. I forgot about that. I haven't, oh man, I meant to try out Golden Sun. But I haven't gotten around to it. Poor Ivysaur. Too weak for this particular stretch of the game. So, fun thing about Wartortle and, Squirtle, Wartortle, and Blastoise. So, Squirtle was my first ever starter Pokemon, so I have a very, very soft spot for him. I don't think he's the best of these three. I think, hilariously, Venusaur is, because of that Toxic and Leech Seed combo that we'll be making use of in this playthrough again. But Blastoise to me is the coolest. I love Blastoise. I always liked his design in the anime, too. Plus, I mean, Squirtle in the anime was just Kamina from Gurren Lagann, so that rocked. That was setting up my proclivities before I even realized it with anime characters I would eventually look up to. It's unclear what Bill did to himself, because in the show he was in like a Kabuto costume, and he couldn't reach the button that like released it because of his little tiny Kabuto arms. But in the game, it seems more like he actually like Jeff Goldblum the Fly'd himself with a Pokemon. And it's not clear exactly how or why he did that, but he does call himself a true blue Pokemaniac, so I guess that gives us our answer. It gives us an answer, anyway. You excited to beat all the Digimon games after doing all the Pokemon games? It would be fun to play. I actually played the Digimon games a lot as a kid, too. There's one on the PlayStation that was a lot of fun. And it was funny, too, because it was so radically different from Pokemon that I remember at first being upset about it, but then kind of finding the groove with it and really liking it. I played that forever. You know what else is fun? Monster Rancher. The idea of Monster Rancher was a lot of fun because it was like you would play the game, but then to like meet new monsters, you would put into the PlayStation like other PlayStation games, and other PlayStation games would have like, I don't know how they did it, but it was like coded where it's like, oh, you put in Metal Gear Solid, you'll get this particular monster. Or you put in Castlevania, you'll get this one. It was just very cool. I don't know how they did it, but it was a great idea. And there was an anime for that, too, that was like, I don't know. There was a funny time in like the late 90s to mid 2000s where there were like a bunch of Pokemon-esque anime. So there was... And the funny thing is, they were all very different in Japan, and they spoke to different markets. But when they came over here, it was always like, all right, let's get to the Pokemon market. So you would just get these weird, like, Pokemon clones all over the place. So there was Monster Rancher, which had an anime that, I don't know, ran for, like, maybe 3 months on WB. Then there was Digimon, of course. Digimon was the biggest, because it's very different from Pokemon, so I think that kind of... It kind of got a leg up. But, then there was like Cardcaptor Sakura, which was a totally different show. Yu-Gi-Oh, of course. Again, totally different. And another of my favorites, for the record. But, man, there was like so many like would-be Pokemon killers. Which is why also, by the way, all these people saying that Pal World is like going to knock Pokemon off its pedestal. Man, you haven't seen anything. You weren't there from the beginning. Pokemon has been a juggernaut ever since 1995. It's not going anywhere. There might be some things that Game Freak learns from Pal World. There might be some things that it takes away from it, but you're not knocking the giant out here. You know, it's a Goliath that is impervious to the slingshot of David, so it's not taking any kind of fall. I figured I would just put my stamp on that. It's like Star Wars, like... You're not gonna knock Star Wars out of its place. You're just not. It's been around too long and had too much success that it's just there and it's not going anywhere. I remember Monster Rancher. I didn't know the game did that, though. Do you remember those handheld monster scanners things? Yes, I do remember the scanners. That's another great example of what I'm talking about. There's always something on the horizon trying to knock it out, but nothing ever really... That might be my first video, actually, on YouTube, like, because I've been thinking of like a couple of different ideas to kick off this series that I want to do, and I think what would be good is like what made Pokemon stick around, like why did Pokemon hit this, find its niche in a way that like these other things that, like Digimon or Yu-Gi-Oh or Cardcaptor Sakura or Monster Rancher, like any of these things that were big kind of in their own right, especially in Japan. Yu-Gi-Oh too. Yu-Gi-Oh was huge, but like why is it Pokemon, right? Like what itch does Pokemon scratch? And I think that would be a really fun thing to look at, because the concept of like collecting monsters, right, is a really great idea. And you'd think that it would be an idea that could be translated to a lot of different IP. But it's not. It never really is. Or if it is, it's done poorly and people forget about it. So, like, a recent example, I think, is that game Temtem, which is like a fine game, but it just, it's not Pokemon, right? And I think that that's an important thing to recognize with these games that try to kind of knock it off its pedestal. Even if they're not trying to knock it off, right? Even if it's just trying to be like another kind of competitor, I think that there's a real difference between how Pokemon is viewed and how other things are viewed. And maybe it's kind of the Disney effect, right? Like, there's a certain wholesomeness to Disney and to Pokemon that, say, Digimon and, like, Warner Brothers don't have necessarily, like the Looney Tunes. Like, I think very fondly about the Looney Tunes, but it's a much different place than Mickey Mouse and Donald and Goofy and, like, all of the Disney characters, right? So, maybe that's it. Maybe, we see this everywhere, right? Like, the idea of like Mario versus Sonic, right? Sonic was always set up as the cool one. And I think that created a niche that Sonic probably could have existed in the same area as Mario, but because of that distinction, it set itself on this other path. So there's a lot to think about there. Personally, I've always thought Yu-Gi-Oh! Was like Pokemon for grown-ups, and Digimon was like Pokemon, but also Transformers, so they can stay cute. Yeah, I think, so Yu-Gi-Oh! I absolutely love. I was as enamored with Yu-Gi-Oh! As an older kid as I was with Pokemon as a younger kid, 100%. I think, those characters are so great. And I was actually, the other day, I was watching, like, clips of Yu-Gi-Oh!, right? So it still, like, pops up on my YouTube recommended for me. Digimon I always liked, but I wasn't, I didn't have as much access to it. So I only saw it in bits and pieces. And I can't remember why that was, because I think Digimon and Pokemon were both on WB Kids. But for some reason, I didn't have Digimon as much. And maybe it's because my local video store didn't have Digimon like they did Pokemon episodes. That might have been a big contributing factor, but I remember really liking it, and I remember thinking that the Digimon relationship between the Digidestined and the Digimon that they had was a lot like Ash and Pikachu, right? Like, that's the relationship. It's always going to stay that way. Maybe they get stronger, but they never change permanently, right? And I think that a big difference between Digimon and Pokemon is also the Digimon could talk, like they could actually speak to the Digidestined, so they could develop a like real relationship with them. So that was more like a kind of like what Pokemon became with like the Ace partners, but even that's very different. So Digimon scratches a different itch for sure. Yu-Gi-Oh! Though, I mean, especially like when you dove into the like what's called Season 0, like the original episodes or the original manga, where the Pharaoh was like an unhinged Jigsaw-like maniac. Yeah, definitely meant for an older crowd. Loved every second of it, though. I know I love Sandshrews sprite in blue. It looked different in green. I love how he's just kind of sitting. It's very cute. certain parts of this game are so ingrained in my memory. Like, I could tell you where every trainer is in this little patch of grass. I couldn't tell you what they all have, but I know exactly where they all are. It's a good place to train when you're trying to beat Lieutenant Surge. Didn't watch much anime as a youth, but I had a cousin who was very into it, which ended up with me watching One Piece of Zatch Bell or One Piece and never thinking about it again for 15 years. I know, I feel like that was I had very limited interaction with it, which is why, like, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. When people hear my background in, Japanese language, culture, religion, like all of those things, I think they immediately think that I'm like a big anime nerd, and I'm not. Like, I have a handful of them that I love, but I was never... Video games were always my entry point into Japanese culture. It was never really anime, so I like anime a lot. There's certain anime that I really like, that I love even, but yeah, it's just funny, like, because I had a very similar experience with it, Richard, where we would... we didn't have cable, so we would get maybe a couple of episodes here and there on VHS from the video store. But it was totally at random, so... Another thing that I remember is that, like, Toonami is... When I finally got, like, Cartoon Network, Toonami is where I saw most of the anime, and it was mostly DBZ. But sometimes it was like, I remembered like Big O yesterday. Kind of like big robot Batman, basically. Like Gundam Batman is what I remember it as. But then like Toonami did this thing where they would play like, almost like they were, this must have been what they were doing. They were probably like seeing which episodes kind of caught attention, because they would throw an episode of anime at the wall and see if people were interested in it. So I remember like Zatch Bell was one of those that that kind of stuck for a while. So I remember watching that on Cartoon Network every now and again. Cool concept. See, there was Zatch Bell. I feel like Cardcaptor Sakura was one of them, where I just saw like a couple of episodes and then it went away. But yeah, it would happen like every now and again where you would just get this run of like a few episodes of anime to see if anything was like interesting to people. Zoids, yeah, I remember Zoids. I remember a friend of mine loved Zoids, and he would talk about it all the time. I could never get into it. I would watch like an episode here or there, usually at his house, I think. But yeah, Zoids was big. Was that even anime? I don't even remember. That might have been one of those weird Canadian things that like felt like anime, but it actually came from Saskatchewan or something. Might have been that. But speaking of like Gundam, that's how like I heard about Gundam, was through Toonami. That one where you get a little robot and when you beat the other robots, you get their limbs. Like, yeah, wasn't that Metabots, right? Yeah, I can see. That also wasn't Japanese. That was like from Singapore or something. Like Metabots it was like one of those things where it's like, oh, this feels like anime, but it's from somewhere else, you know? I think that was the case with Metabots. Maybe I'm thinking of something else, but I think that was it. You know, the funny thing too is I will not do any research. It'll just stay vague in my memory as these things that I half remember from a very long time ago. Unless it comes up on stream where I'm doing some deep dive into the history. That's my interaction with it. Let's see if Bite will do anything. No. Worth a shot. Funny to hear the champion music while I'm just fighting horsies. Someday, horsey, keep your chin up. Everything tastes of the sea, he says. I think the only reason Dragon Ball Z stuck with me was because it had games. Like, I hadn't seen the Majin Buu saga when I played Budokai 3, so that's how I learned. Yeah, I know Boo's Fury rocked. All of the GBA games were so good. I love those. Fun RPGs. But, yeah, I think that's probably why I stuck with a lot of the anime I did. Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, DBZ. Like, there were games that were connected to them. So I had some kind of, like, tangible connection to them outside of watching the show. And the DBZ games were great because you could actually, like, play through sagas and get, like, an idea of what the story was. It wasn't just, like, keeping you in the dark the entire time. Same with, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Games kind of did that. The later ones definitely did. Like, there was one for, I think it was called Battle City? Tales of Battle City? Something like that. But it was actually, like, basically the story of that season. All the way up to, like, fighting Merrick and, or dueling Merrick, rather. Yeah, with, like, the Rare Hunters and that whole great arc in Yu-Gi-Oh! Then there was a game, I actually want to get it, and I can't remember what it's called. Let me look it up, because it's a great idea. Okay, there was a game called The Falsebound Kingdom for the GameCube, which was awesome. It was like a Yu-Gi-Oh! RPG. It was really fun. Like a turn-based RPG. Yu-Gi-Oh! PS1. What was it called? Yeah, this one. Forbidden Memories. Yeah. Forbidden Memories on the PlayStation 1. The Sacred Cards, that's the one I'm thinking of. Sacred Cards is the Battle City arc, right? Yes, I played that like crazy. I remember I got, because it would keep like the win counter for certain duelists that you would duel, and I remember like there is a playground rumor that if you got all of them to 99 wins, something special would happen. And I think the special thing that happened is that you were taken away in a straitjacket, but it was fun to try. Yeah, I want to get Forbidden Memories because in my Forbidden Memories, it was an incredibly difficult game, so I want to see if I can get it and maybe beat it. Yeah, and you stand in for Joey in the story, which is a cool way to do that. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, oh man, that's right. It was a great game. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has great stories. And that's the fun thing, is that one of the best, consistently, one of the best, like, anime into video game adaptations, because it's all about games, so it's pretty easy to port over into a story about video games. Pretty cool. Also, I love the irony of you being like, well, if you do all that work, you go crazy, as if you aren't a platinum hunter who's currently collecting all the Pokemon. Yeah. Hey, listen. I have no retort to that. You're not wrong. Oh, the Pokédex entries. As fun as that is, I don't want to hear all of them. Let's play some, let's go back to Persona as we round things out here. There we go. I think what I'm going to do for tonight, because my throat is starting to catch up with me, I am going to get to the gym, and then I'm going to call it a night, because I am feeling it. We'll beat all the trainers on the boat, and then we'll be ready with Cut. I'm going to teach it to our Ivysaur. That is actually, now that I'm thinking about it, one of the benefits of having a fourth Pokemon would just be to have like an HM Pokemon. That's probably what I should do. But who should it be? Yeah, he can. He can learn Surf because I think it's genuinely because at the time there was a card that came out that was like Surfing Pikachu. And it was really popular, so they added that as part of the game mechanics. I gotta go to my item box too, unload some of this stuff. Actually, let's do Rage. Ah, Rage keeps missing his attack. Damn. Well, Charmeleon, I would say you did your best, but you've disappointed me, my boy. Ah, my fiery lizard boy. He's disappointed me. Speaking of. Oh. You know what might be kind of fun, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, is to do... Oh, no, but I kind of want to do that on Yellow. I was going to say it would be fun to do like a like an Ash Ketchum playthrough, where it's like, all right, got all the starters, then I'm going to get like a Raichu, a Pidgeotto, maybe a Butterfree, right? But that'll be way more fun on Yellow, so... When Yellow came out, I'm going to save most of these stories for when I actually play it, but it was like, blew my mind as a kid. I was so happy when that came out. Such a cool little experiment that I'm happy that they stuck with. So, we'll get to that, but in the meantime, we're going to do something that I don't know if I ever did, which if I don't remember it, I'm assuming I never did it because I feel like I would remember it. I don't know that I ever completed the Pokédex in Pokemon Blue. I know I did it in later games, and I've done it since on like Fire Red and stuff like that, but I don't know that I ever did it here. And you know what? I'm feeling frisky, so we are going to beat Lieutenant Surge before we call it a night. Need to get some more music too, especially if I continue along this path with playing them like this, which I I think it's fine. I'm enjoying it. I mean, it would be too slow for me doing it the other way, so I'm happy to do it this way. And it's not stopping me from making commentary, which is the important thing, so. Alright. Rage rocks when I'm not getting my accuracy lowered by a bird. Nice. Nice. Yes. No. Yes. Perfect. Exactly as planned. Oh man, I remember this puzzle. Because it is... so much of it is, random chance, right? I did not understand it as a kid, and my neighbors, who were like maybe, I don't know, they weren't, in my memory, they were like years older than me, but they were probably only like a year or two older than me. They had a lot more video games, so they understood how things worked better than I did, and they were trying to explain to me like what it was that was happening here, and I couldn't comprehend it, so I remember spending, I mean, realistically, like probably days trying to get past this, not understanding what was even happening with the randomizing, like, switches, you know. Especially because I didn't know that it was... now it seems like second nature to just be like, oh, you have to check... If you hit one, you have to check one around it to see if the switch will flip. As a kid, I didn't know that, so I would hit one, and then I would go like to a random place and try to hit that, and I just didn't understand that there was some kind of pattern to it, because it seemed so random. Because it was kind of random. Game Freak. A little difficult for children to just intuit, but what do I know? Who am I? Except a guy who's played their games for 25 plus years, but whatever. Whatever, Game Freak. Alright, well, on that funny note, I'm gonna call it a night. I am not feeling super hot. Maybe I am sick. I don't know. I'm not excited at the prospect of that, but hopefully it's just something going on. I think I nicked my throat, like I said, so hopefully that's it. So with these fun Persona 4 tunes playing us out, I'm going to call it a night. And we'll be back to play more of Pokemon Blue. In the meantime, I think I might do a little power leveling off screen, but nothing too crazy. So with that said, Richard, thanks for stopping by. Thank you, I appreciate it. Fun to talk to you as always. And anybody watching on the VOD later, thanks for tuning in. And stay tuned for more Pokemon Blue. I'll see you next time.